the whole idea, we're African Americans, we're black, right? And sometimes being in the reform circle, if we want to call it that, right?
Yeah.
How do you all feel about people who think that, who would dub you guys, me, whoever, as under a theological imperialism?
Yeah.
That basically we're on, you know, some type of plantation, basically, and basically we're just kind of, you know, I can't say it here, you know, that house dude, right? You know what I'm saying? And how do we deal with? You can't laugh that long. Like, how do we? Because that's like an undercurrent right now.
Yeah.
And then sometimes, especially with the traditional background that many of us come from or experience and want to be a part of influencing, yet not coming in acting like the gospel's never been in the traditional Baptist church, or you know what I'm saying?
I mean, I don't know if you want to speak on it, but
Go ahead.
I have my own kind of life experience. Like, it's a journey. I think I didn't grow up in church, but the church I experienced when I was younger was the traditional African American church.
Right.
And so when you sit in that and then you become a Christian, like after I was converted, that was the only church I knew to go to, so I would go to that church. And you know, I'm hearing things that are true and are incredible and are good for my soul.
Right.
And I may be here, and I may not be hearing the things that I do need to hear as well. And so then I venture over into, you know, a majority white conservative evangelical church or whatnot, and I hear truths that I didn't hear over here.
Right.
But now my knee-jerk reaction is, y'all didn't teach me nothing. And I get to railing on this community that, you know, had nurtured me in a lot of ways. And, and I just focused in on what I didn't get and became to make this the place to be. But then I'm over here and I'm like y'all don't appreciate who I am and who, you know, how God has made me. And I'm like, almost in some senses, yo, you need to assimilate. And then, and even outside of that, it's man, that's great. Come over here and we'll give you what we have, but I don't know how to help you with that. Gotcha. Aren't you? You're the ambassador for that. Gotcha. I don't really know what to do. And so that was always a wrestle for me. I think that I don't feel like I'm under imperialism or whatever. I feel like, man, I'm in search of truth, and I'm gonna get it where I can find it.
Right.
And I feel like I am, in some senses, a contextual ambassador, a cultural ambassador, and I do want to bridge those gaps and tear down those walls. So
from a biblical and theological, no, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I think a lot of dudes find themselves in the exact same situation as you, and I think they do exactly what you're saying that your knee-jerk reaction was. But I think something that can help those dudes is not to, and they're trying to bring people along to solid truth they found, is don't wave reformed boundaries. Don't wave, these are my favorite passages. Just say, look at what I found in the scriptures. And if you don't understand that from the scriptures, then you don't even understand that. You just like some dudes teaching.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. Yeah, I was talking to Carl Ellis in the fall, and I was talking to him about how he felt about it. You know, I love the old heads, man. Old head reform cats, you know what I'm saying?
Chattanooga.
Yeah, Chattanooga. Who in Chattanooga, man? I'm sorry, Chattanooga. Anyway, and talking to him, and it was great because I was asking him about how would he teach us to convey reform theology to black men.
Yeah.
And I was fascinated by what he said. He said I wouldn't pull out the actual classical resource at first. He said I would develop a biblical trajectory on that particular subject as I discipled those men, and kind of insert quotes, not necessarily letting them know where I got it from, because of some of the feeling of the barrage of what people feel about Christianity. And so teaching about biblical manhood and masculinity and that type of thing, and pulling those biblical truths out and talking about that, but then contextualizing the voices of those who we said has been carrying the torch of the gospel for 2,000 years and communicating it. I thought that was a profound opportunity that we can really use in the process.
I think I've subconsciously done that without thinking about it, but because I feel like I've almost had to, you know, like to drop Calvin's name is to drop a curse word.
Right,
and
right,
so it's like,
right.
I don't even want
Right.
to, I wouldn't do that. You know, that's just something I wouldn't do. Wave a banner or celebrate the, you know, the anniversaries and all that stuff. I'm like, man, I'm Bible. Let's talk Bible and dig into the scriptures. And I think that's what I've seen most effective. You know, I was talking to a dude the other day. That sounds kind of familiar. I was talking to this cat the other day, and he asked me, he's like, man, but you know, Christianity, like that's the white man's religion. And I was like, actually, it's an Eastern religion. Like it didn't start in the West, you know?
Right.
And he was just rocked, like, man, I never even thought about that, you know? And that really was his hang up, you know? And it was just like, that's crazy that this is.
It's interesting you say that. I was on the playground with my son when we first got in the community that we're living in by the ministry. And it was an Orthodox African-American Muslim there. And I ended up engaging them with the gospel, you know, and while the kids on the slides and screaming and everything. And it was interesting because I shared the gospel with them from Tanakh, from the Old Testament, in Genesis, and walked him through basically typology and redemptive historical theme. Within, I didn't tell him that, like, this is a redemptive historical theme. And, you know, I didn't do that.
Tanakh either.
No, I didn't tell him Tanakh. No, I did say Tanakh because,
he would
because
okay.
of the,
Gotcha.
you know, because he think we changed everything, you know. And so, and after walking through it and talking about Isaac and him carrying the wood on his back up the hill, laying the wood on the ground, then laying on the wood, and then his dad about to kill him, and then the ram is caught in the thicket, then began explaining that to him, and I was like, the gospel's everywhere in the Bible. And so the dude was like, click a cokey, but the thing, but this is the trip. Like, the issue is being able to communicate, and this is what African-American men need. They need an affirmation of gospel-centered biblical intellectualism. That's contextualized yet biblical. And that shows the connection of the entire breadth of the Word of God. And man, I think y'all do that well in your music, man. And Lord's just using y'all in so many ways to be able to help introduce. Because most of the time, before guys are introduced to all of the other stuff, they usually get introduced to y'all first. How'd that feel? It's like a lot of responsibility, right?
It's encouraging.
Encouraging?
It makes you feel like you're doing something worthwhile.
I never even thought about it like that. I just feels like
y'all like got the Elijah anointing up in here, Doc.
You know, I'm just glad to do it. You know, I never even thought about it from that perspective.
What counsel would you give the dudes who've kind of stumbled upon new truth? They feel like they have to either abandon their culture or they have to just sit somewhere where they don't feel like they're getting fed really well. What counsel would you give the dude like that?
Man, I think that's a difficult thing. One of the things that I would walk a guy through is helping him not to discount everything. We know that there are challenges in some of the places we've come from, and there are challenges where we're going. I think whenever you're in the honeymoon period of truth from a place, not with truth, but from a place, then you tend to romanticize it being perfect, which of course we know that that's way off center of what we would believe is redemptive historical theme or of creation for our redemption. And so one of the things I would say is, man, I would kind of give him the trajectory of what I went through. Basically getting mad, like, y'all didn't teach me this, and I'm so pissed at y'all, I'm so mad at y'all, right? And then began to see the challenges that I began to get into to being contextually alienated from the world that I actually want to go back and impact. But then saying, man, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. There's creation, fall, redemption over here. There's creation, fall, and redemption over here. And I think you don't assume, because terminology is different, that even if he's an African American, that didn't exist there. Because the black preacher see Jesus through the Old Testament all the time. How did he do it? He didn't call it redemptive historical theme, longitudinal themes, comparison, contrast, or typology. He called it the role. And when he's ending the sermon, guess what he'd do? He'd talk about a picture of Jesus in every book of the Bible. He'd do it pretty well too. Then you go over here to this the other side, and it's going to explain the trajectory on how you develop the exegetical aspects of getting to the point with seeing Jesus, not just in a part of the book, but in the whole of the book. And begin just saying, man, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, and walking guys through that. And one of the things that I also do is I'm intentional about helping guys to listen to solid solid biblical preaching by guys of multi-ethnic background. And I also get them to read like books like C. Eric Lincoln's book on the African American church and the black church and African American experience, which shows the comprehensive execution of the gospel over a 200 to 300 year period that they laid out and looked through, and you'll see both the social justice stuff ain't new, but then you see the preaching of the gospel wasn't new, and so you're beginning like, dag, they weren't necessarily connected to the Reformation, but they did preach the gospel. Right. People were saved, and they engaged the context with the gospel, and they did foreign missions, which is a lot that these churches don't do. But then when you come the full gambit, it helps you to kind of see that. But sometimes you do have to let guys kind of go through it so that they can, because sometimes they won't hear in the beginning because they're so ticked. And so, but walking with them hopefully through it is real, real helpful.
I'm really grateful for guys like yourself and Anthony Carter, and just because I've used y'all's podcast to give to individuals who are just kind of wrestling, like coming out of a particular context, but it's like I want them to hear solid biblical preaching, but I know there's gonna be a barrier up as soon as it's like, who's this white dude's voice I'm listening to? And it's just kind of like, not to say that the Spirit can't work and move in their heart, but just knowing those initial barriers is kind of like, dang, who the heck can I play for this dude? You know, and so, just really appreciative of that, man.